really awesome experience going into a bee yard. When the bees are actively foraging on a good nectar flow, which means the weather conditions are right, the moisture conditions are right in the ground, the soil, and the flowers are full of nectar. The bees are oblivious to people. You could just put a jar of honey on the ground, and they won't not touch that honey because they want that nectar. They won't rob it. They just got one thing in mind: is get the nectar and get back in the hive. You can walk in front of the hives; there'll be clouds of bees, and they just won't sting. And speaking of stinging, it's something we'll do. Is we Sharon, my wife, runs the breeding program at our Florida farm every winter, and she'll pick out bees. We go to hives. We go through hundreds and hundreds of hives. Maybe we got a few thousand in Florida that we just shipped down, and the beekeepers are going through them, and we're preparing the ones in Michigan when they leave, when we're done in the fall, because of the mites and the viruses and all that. And that's another story. The best ones right now just got shipped to California, and they'll stay there for almond pollinations. And the ones that the mites impacted some, they might have a virus issue, they go to Florida and we fix them up. They have an opportunity to recoup from the stresses of viruses and the Asian mites that bite them. So we try to pick out really good stock that's the queens lay a lot of eggs. We call that brooding. They're gentle. So when we go, I actually, if I'm doing it and I'm picking my breeding stock, I'll count the frames of brood in the hive and how much laying that queen will do for us, and the health of the hive. I look at it, make sure I don't see signs of disease, and then I'll wave my hands over the top of the bees and see if I can provoke them. And if they don't sting my hand with fast movement, then I'll bump the hive with my knee, and then I'll bump it harder and see what it takes to provoke them. So when we raise queen bees, we have gentle bees that are productive, because one breeder queen, we might make 400 new queen bees from it, one hive. So we don't want to mess that up on the breeding end. So I have the guys now going through and picking out the best hives, and I said, bring me a dozen really exceptional hives back to our farm in our queen breeding area. And when Sharon and I get down at the end of January, we'll start looking at them and grading them and observing them. And by the 10th of February, we're starting to actually take the little bitty microscopic larvae out and put them into special hives to raise the queens. So it's a part of the beekeeping, but we have a lot of, for instance, if you were interested in coming down to the farm for a time and interning, we have people come and intern with us, and usually some of the ladies and intern with Sharon, and they might stay a week or two and help raise the honeybees. And you get an opportunity to get around bees and relax and just get the rhythm of the bees and get a feel for how to work a hive and what bees are all about. So I guess that's a long answer on how you get into bees.
Well, that's some really good ideas. Thank you very much.
Yeah, now we just got to get her to get her dang passport so she can leave the country.
Yeah.
And AJ, okay, he is, let me see. He's
in Michigan.
Beulah. Yes, it's the other side of Michigan from the bridge in near where John Bryan's and them are at Monroe. So he's right on that road that goes to that bridge. Yeah, and it's like 3 hours from there. So
Port Huron. I've been to John's place.
Yeah. So he's like 3 hours from the Port Huron Bridge, and John's in Galveston, if I remember right. But yeah, so yeah, he's like AJ's up in Ottawa. What are you, about 4 hours from Galveston? So we worked that out at one point.
I'm about 4 hours from Toronto, and Elviston's farther.
Okay. So you're probably 7 to 8 hours from Kirk's place then.
But it's still doable, and it's not worth getting in a plane for.
Yeah, no, totally not. Anything less than a 12-hour drive isn't worth getting in a plane for.
Mm-hmm.
not in my
especially
book,
when I can bunk down in Hamilton because I got relatives there.
There you go.
Yeah, John might be a good place to go if you're not too far.
Yeah, he's even closer, and you don't need a passport.
Yeah, actually, also I'm not. I'm probably closer to places like Intermeal.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Intermeal's like a big, fancy production thing. Monroe's is still a family operation. I mean, Intermeal is technically still a family operation, but they've kind of gone to, I don't know, super production in the meadery world, you know?
Yeah, well,
John's got a nice plant.
He does,
John's got a really nice place.
And he's, third generation now, I believe. He's not the original owner wasn't related to him, but he and his family took it over when the original owner passed, if I remember right. Yeah, and they've had it ever since. And he's second gen. His dad took it over, and then he and his brother run it now. And
John, it's called Monroe.
Monroe, after the original owner. Yeah, it's Monroe Honey is the name of the company, but yeah, it's after the original owner whose name was Monroe. But
yeah, and it's the Bryans.
I've seen John at the Mazer Cup.
Oh yeah, John and his wife are really awesome people. They're Chris and John. They're really good people. At some point, he's been after me because every time I go to Michigan, I say I'm going to come over there, and I never do. And then he gets mad at me because I don't, even though my family's just the other side of the state too. Well, not up by you. So, I really need to get my butt in gear and just go across the border. And then after I get done there, go up and see AJ.
Yeah, because there's an apiary I get most of my honey from, but they because the wife of the main beekeeper is highly allergic to honeybees herself. They don't have. They've got the honey production facility is where they sell their honey from the store, but they don't have any hives on site at all, and all of the collection goes on elsewhere. So that's as much as I would love to try seeing what I can learn from them there. I'm not sure exactly. I don't even know where I would end up having to go to actually work with bees there. And I had a friend who was into bees, but his vision's gotten so bad that when his hives sort of died over the winter, and he decided not to replace them because he can't see well enough to handle them anymore.
That's a
bummer.
Too bad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so tell us a little bit. We've talked about bees for a while here. Let's jump back onto the mead side of things a little bit. Obviously, you already do apprenticing, but when you guys are making mead, are you going traditional routes? Are you filtering? What's your process look like for however much of it you can discuss?
We've invested in good technology. Speaking of filtering, that is one of the biggest challenges. Once you figure out the fermentation, which generally speaking, we talk a lot about it. Cool fermentation. So we've got glycol chillers. I've got 2 of them, and I set up a redundant system where if one goes bad, I got another one that'll pick up, and they both run simultaneously. So we set up glycol systems, which is it's just critical in getting nice mead. If you didn't have, I would suggest if you didn't have a glycol system with jacketed tanks, is actually cool a room somehow. Which I could make a suggestion: if you could super insulate some kind of room, spray foam it with closed cell foam, or build it with big panels, you could use a technology. It's called CoolBot. It's a control unit. I think it's about $350, and what it does, it runs, and you can run air conditioners beyond their general temperature parameters. So you could, and the best one for it is an LG air conditioner. You can run 1, 2, 3, whatever air conditioners simultaneously, and the CoolBot lets you run them at a lower temperatures. I've seen them in use, and they work. They're pretty cool. if air conditioner goes out, you just replace it. So that's another way a mead maker could ferment in just a cold room and control the temps.
That is awesome. Thank you very much.
There's a guy that I talked to in southern Michigan, and it's a brewery that's getting into mead, and he has a mead room. Basically, it's just sort of it's about twice the size of a walk-in closet, so maybe 8 by 10.
Yeah.
And what he did was he just put super thick polystyrene, the hard foam, just giant pieces of it, and basically just filled in the gaps between the uprights, the 2x4s and the wall framing, and did that on the walls and the ceiling, and then put in a door and insulated that too. And it enables him to, and he does the same thing. He's got an air conditioner feeding into it, and probably has a cool bot or something like it. And he keeps it pretty. I mean, I walked into that room and you could see your breath. It was pretty cool in there. You can
get it really cold with air conditioning. It's kind of high tech, low tech.
Yeah.
So probably is cheaper and easier than installing a walk-in fridge.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, he did was build a standard framed little room, and then just put that pink foam that's like 3 inches thick. And it's close. Your basic closed cell stiffy foam, and he just had that stuff.
Polyurethane, I think.
Is it polyurethane? Okay, it wasn't squishy. It was that hard stuff that'll leave a dent.
Rigid insulation.
Yes, there you go. And he just had that basically cut and stuck in between the framing members, and just did that, and I think he had plastic stapled over top of that so that you had kind of a vapor barrier, but it was it worked really well. It wasn't pretty, but it worked great.
Well, you can get down into the low 60s, perhaps.
Yeah,
we've even ferment down at sometime in the high 50s, but then you could even crash it if you didn't have too many tanks. That's at some point with glycol chilling in jacketed tanks. Like even yesterday, we had a tank of mead. It was just done, so we just put it down to 30 degrees, and it will not even stop the fermentation just like that, just with a digital controller.
Nice.
One of my favorite digital controller for the wonky guys out there or people is just a Ranco, R-A-N-C-O, Ranco. It's just it heats. You can do heating or cooling. I've used them all over the place. Even my reach-in coolers for my mead and heating rooms. Use the Rancos and just solenoids. Real simple technology to control each tank separately. In the filtration department, we started with plate and frame, and I got into crossflow, which is really pretty incredible. Pricey, but it's pretty cool. I bought 2 used units, and I'm on my second one now. And at some point, I'll probably get a third and step up into a larger one. And then I went to filtration is like in getting a mead clean when you're done. It's part of it's settling, but sometimes it doesn't settle quick. So you have to use different fining techniques. You might try, and that's just another whole discussion. Fining with bentonite. I think clay. I think it cleans the mead up real nice. But it's a real big issue with cross-flow filtration. You can get into the pores and almost like calcification, and make your say if it's a hollow fiber cross-flow, it can make them brittle like these spaghetti strands. I've used sparkaloid, hot sparkaloid, and I like that a lot too. And it originally started with the bentonite because I was getting some protein sediment. It happens, and the way you check for that is just I bottle some mead, test it before I bottle the batch, and I put it into the hot honey room. Actually, it's where it's 140